Hello, this is George Demaree again with another episode of Your Money Matters. And remember what we do in Your Money Matters. We help to promote financial literacy. We look for business and education opportunities. We help you to think strategically when making buying decisions. We help you to become and give you techniques of becoming more credit worthy. Remember, the goal is to have a credit number of 700 or better. And finally, and just as important as the other four, we want you to get away from debt, financial slavery. But today, I got a phone call this week about some information about retirement and Social Security. So we're going to spend a little time on that. But even before I go there, in Pastor Cosby's sermon this Sunday, he talked about power and what power really is. And he says power gives you options. Is that when you have power, it means you have choices. And when you are financially literate, when you have a good credit number, it gives you options. I asked our staff just the other day, how many times have you applied for a loan, whether it be an auto loan, home loan, or just loan for anything, that you were just sitting there wondering, am I going to get approved? Am I going to get approved? We've all been there. We've all had moments where the power was in someone else's hands as it relates to what we can do to secure a loan or what we do with our money. When you have a good credit number and you're handling your money in a strategic way, guess what happens? You have the power and the banks don't, because you can go from bank to make sure that you get the very best interest rate based on your credit number and where you are. So let's spend some time today on Social Security. There are so many things about Social Security. I mean, if you look at the Social Security laws, they're massive. And when you get to the point you're in your late 50s and you're getting close to retirement age, you begin to wonder, what do you do? I mean, do I take it early? Do I wait till full retirement age? Let me give you some history about Social Security. The act was put into law by President Roosevelt in 1935. It was for the general welfare. It was designed to help retired workers 65 and over have some additional consistent income. The first president to put their fingers on your Social Security benefits was Ronald Reagan. Look it up and you'll get more detail on that. The next president that proposed to do that, and thank God that changed, was Donald Trump. So again, Social Security was enacted to give folks 65 plus an opportunity to have a consistent income, but remember this, it was never designed for it to be your entire income. Never was. Tell you some other history about Social Security. In 1945, there were as many as 42 people that supported every one person who was on Social Security. In 1950, it was 16 people for every one person. Now, it's only about 3 people for every one person. But don't panic. Social Security is pretty solid through the year 2035, as long as a politician doesn't get his hands on it to hurt it and change the laws. Well, how do you qualify for Social Security? It's called you need 40 credits. You earn a credit every quarter. So there's 4 quarters a year. So every year that you are employed making a minimum of around $5,600 a year, you get to take that as a credit. So it takes 10 years of employment, 10 years you paying into Social Security for you to be eligible to earn Social Security at starting age 62. But remember, depending on the year you were born, up to 66 and 67, will you be eligible for your full Social Security benefit. Another thing about Social Security is how is it funded? Well, on your paycheck, you are charged 6.2% of your income goes into Social Security. That other 6.2% is paid by your employer. So totally about 12.4% of your income will go into Social Security. Tell you something that I didn't realize. When I left the corporate world and decided to start my own business, my tax preparer told me, well, your taxes are going to go up. I said, well, what do you mean? Why would my taxes go up? Says, now you'll have to pay that entire 12.4% yourself because now you do not have an employee to do it. So that's just a tidbit of information to know when you do start your own business. But I will say this, there's a ton of tax benefits about starting your own business as well. You become eligible to get 75% of your Social Security benefit at age 62. You don't get your total benefit of Social Security, again, depending on the year you were born, until 66 and above. For an example, I was born in 1956. I am eligible for my full benefit at age 66 and 4 months. Anybody born up to 1954, they can get their Social Security benefit at actually the age of 66. Now, if you decide that you want to wait till 70, then that benefit goes up around between age 66 to 70 at around 7% a year. So, but do you want to wait to age 70? I don't think so, all right? It's all a risk. Life expectancy. We'll spend some time on that in a moment. Now, why would you not take your Social Security benefit at age 62? Well, let me tell you what happens. If your full benefit is $2,000 a month and you take it at age 62, that cuts you down to $1,500 a month. If you wait from 62 to 66, it would literally cost you $72,000 for not taking your benefit early. So why would you not take it early? It would take you about 12 years to make up the difference if you don't take it early. But there are major penalties for deciding to take your Social Security benefit early. If you take it before full retirement age, from age 62 to age 65, and from within that last year before you get to full retirement, you can only make a total of $18,960 without it being a penalty after that. So let me say that again. You take your Social Security benefit early. You still want to work. You cannot have an earned income of more than $18,960 without a penalty. So, okay, well, what does that mean? I mean, let's talk about that. If you had a job making $3,000 a month, right? that's $36,000 a year, and you subtract the $18,960 from that $36,000, that's $17,000 over what you're allowed to take. And what Social Security does is they take $1 for every $2 you earn out of your benefit. Now, let me say that again. Every $2 that you earn over $18,960, they'll take $1 out of that. So if you subtract that $18,960 from $36,000, that's a little over $17,000, and 50% of that they'll take away. Now, how does that work? Originally, I thought they just took it at the end of the year. No, they take it on a projection. So if you were getting $2,000 a month and you thought you were going to still be working, number one, they ask you to tell them that, because you will not get a check for $2,000 a month until that $8,000 is taken care of. So there's a major penalty for taking your Social Security benefit early. Yet you can still make a few dollars from it. Remember, it also depends on how long you're going to live. And black men live a shorter length of time than any other ethnicity. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. Now, once you get to age 65, within the year of that year, now you can make as much as $50,000. So going into that last year from age, for me as example, for age 65 and 4 months through the end of that year of 66 and 4 months, I could actually make an additional $50,000 without a penalty, and they only take $1 for every $3 that you earn. So sometimes it may make sense, depending on how much money you make, that you will go on your Social Security age 65. It all depends on your economic position. Let me also share this. It does not count your annuities, your savings money. That is not counted into the equation. Only earned income for an employer. Eligibility years. At age 62, you're eligible for 75% of your total Social Security benefit. At age 63, it's 80%. At age 64, it's 86.6%. At age 65, we talked about that, it's 93.3%. And at age 66, and again for me, at age 66 and 4 months, it's 100%. And let me tell you what happens then. Another benefit. If you wait until age 66, there's no longer a penalty on how much money you can make. You can make as much money as you want to make along with your benefit for Social Security. So again, it depends on the individual. If you need the money now, you have some investment monies that you have, go ahead and take it now. If you can wait, do. Now, again, you get a big bump if you wait to 70. And I'm not suggesting one way or another what you do, but I'm telling you, it has to do with how long you're going to believe you're going to be on this earth. For black men in America, the average age expectancy is age 75. I looked it up. For black women, it's 78. Those are just statistics that I just found. I actually found those a few months ago. In the state of Kentucky, it's lower than that. For black men, it's 72. Again, my father died at 71. So if he had waited to age 70, he wouldn't have gotten but a year of his Social Security benefit. Let's talk a little bit more about eligibility. all right, tell you how the money is calculated. They take your top 35 years. 35 years employment, they use a formula, and that's how they come up with what your monthly Social Security benefit is going to be. Now remember, earlier in this broadcast, I said you had to work a minimum you had to have 40 credits. And 40 credits is usually 10 years because you get 4 credits a year, and you've had to make a minimum of about a little less than $100 a month in order to be eligible. But for every year you don't work, or for every credit you don't earn, if you don't get your 40 or you don't work those 35 years, you get a 0 on those years. So if you only work, you say, well, I'm going to work 10 years and I'll get my Social Security benefit. Absolutely you will. But it's going to be a lot smaller because they're still going to use 35 years to calculate what you get in Social Security. So work as many years as you can. Another thing about the 35 years, let's suppose you work 35 years, you've made a good income the majority of those years, and then you decide that, well, I'm going to, it's a little like I did. I made a great income at the radio stations. I decided that I didn't want to work anymore and thought I wanted to do something else. So that income went down. So that next year's income would not go against my 35 years because my top 35 years have already been calculated. So once they're in, and you won't be dropped. Now, if you happened to stop work, and then the next year you actually made a little more than the least amount you made in one year, then that will replace that year. So there's a possibility it goes up. But also remember this, your Social Security benefit only goes up to the point of where you made $132,000. Now that's a lot of money and a lot of people don't. But people who earn over $132,000 will not get any more Social Security benefit based on how much money they earned. Social Security will cap how much they give you. Usually that cap is anywhere between $3,000 and $3,800, depending on where you are and how much money you made through the year. All right? So another thing that you have to be aware of with Social Security is that most years you will get a cost of living increase. That cost of living increase can be, some years recently we didn't get any, but it usually averages about 2%, 1 to 2%. I think about 1.75% on an average. There have been some years it's been as much as 2.5%, almost 3%. Again, remember, it's if you decide to take Social Security early, this is the thing that you got to know when you're making the decision on your retirement. You are stuck in that number, other than when you get your cost of living increases. Again, remember, I said if your total benefit was $2,000, just to keep the math simple, and you took it early at 62 and you at 75%, then that $1,500 is what you're stuck with, including cost of living increases, for the rest of your life. Again, if you wait until age 65, into that last year, you can make as much as, and this goes up every year. For an example, last year, you could only make at age 50, $48,000. But this year is $50,000. Last year, you could only make $18,290. This year, you can make almost, just a little less than $19,000 without penalty. One more time, only earned income. It doesn't include annuities, investment, interest from pensions, any of that, will not against your eligibility for Social Security. All right, longevity, again, plays a role. Let me visit that again. It's rolling the dice, it's rolling the dice. Will you live to be, will you make it to the average age of who you are, whether no matter what race or ethnicity you happen to be? If you happen to live over 80, 85, then you're going to get a ton of your Social Security benefits. So I know of a ton of people who decided that the moment I turn 62, regardless of penalty, I'm getting him. I got a friend in California, a good friend of mine. God, I used to go to Sunday school with at church years ago. We're about that tall. And he couldn't wait to collect his Social Security benefit. But he was not going to work anymore. He had some other income because of investment income. So it wasn't going to hurt him. The only way that it hurts you if you decide to continue to work, all right? Again, males, average age, black male 75, black female 78. In Kentucky, for black males, it's 70, almost 73, wasn't quite 72. It's crazy. So do what you think is right as it relates to that. Other questions people ask about Social Security and what needs to be done to Social Security is Social Security income taxed? Absolutely it is, all right? Your Social Security benefits will be taxed, and this is how they're taxed. Single head of household, if you're only making $25,000 a year, you don't get taxed. Single head of household making $25,000 to $34,000 a year, you can get up to 50% of your Social Security benefit tax. Now, that's up to 50%. Single head of households making 35 and up, you can get taxed up to 85% of your Social Security benefit. So remember, it's not, no, don't misunderstand this. You're not taxed at 85%. You get taxed at whatever your tax rate happens to be at the time, but 85% of that benefit can be taxed depending on your tax bracket. If you happen to be married, if you make $32K, no taxes, 32 to 44, 50%, and 44 and above, 85%. So yes, you do get taxed on your Social Security benefits. Are there lump sum opportunities? Yes, there are lump sum opportunities. There are times when you can take a 6-month lump sum. There's a lot of examples. My recommendation is to call the Social Security office, ask questions, and they will talk to you. And let me tell you what I mean by that. A lot of this information I got together a number of months ago, maybe as many as 6 months ago, because we talked about Social Security in Money Matters, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. I called them this morning. They had to wait on hold for 10 or 15 minutes, but the guy picked up. I asked him a few questions. I asked him the question about, remember I said you can make $18,900 and anything above that gets taxed at 2-for-1. So he actually sent me through the math so I would know exactly what that looked like under those scenarios. So tons of information, guys. If you have any questions, call them. You can get lump sums up to a certain amount of money. There are some times when you can take your Social Security benefit and then decide that you don't want it anymore and back out. So there are certain ways that you can do that, and then you can get back in, which can raise your benefit depending on your financial situation. Spousal benefits. I'm going to read this. Once you hit 62, if your spouse is currently receiving either retirement or disability benefits from Social Security, you too can receive those benefits up to half of your spouse's benefit. Now, if your spouse is getting a benefit and you reach 62, you can get as much as half of their benefit, because there's ways you can maneuver that with your spouse, that if you talk to a Social Security professional, I'm just giving you enough information to pique your interest, that if you ask, you know how you can take advantage of it. Remember, we started this telecast about talking about power. Tell you something else that's powerful. Information. Information is powerful. When you know how to do it and how to take benefit of things, that's one of the things that we as African Americans are beginning to understand, really how to handle their money, how to use those benefits that are there for us. Survival benefits. If your spouse has died and he or she qualified for Social Security benefits, you can receive what are called survivor's benefits. Survivor benefits are more generous than spousal benefits. If you wait until full retirement age to claim your benefit, you can get 100% of your deceased spouse benefit amount. So, my benefit was, $3,000. And my wife's benefit was only going to be $2,300. Well, if I happen to pass away, when she gets to retirement time, she's going to be eligible for that as well. You can claim survivor's benefits as early as age 60, but your benefits will be reduced by that pesky early retirement penalty. If you are disabled, you can claim the benefit as early as 50, but remember, whatever you do early will be what you will get permanently. So there's a lot of benefits about spousal benefit. In order for you to be eligible for that benefit, you had to be married to that person at least 9 months. Just a tidbit of other information. Let me share this with you. A lot of people don't realize this. Spousal benefits if you're divorced. If you're not married at the time you hit retirement age, you still have a shot at getting spousal benefits. So let me tell you what that means. I can tell you, I'll read it. If you're divorced, but your marriage lasted at least 10 years, that's the key, and your former wife or spouse, whoever, is eligible for your benefit like they were still married to you. Now, hear me this. It will not affect your benefit. It will only help your ex-husband or ex-wife. Tell you what that looks like. Let's suppose you were married for 10 years. You retired at full benefit. When you got full benefit, you got $3,000. But your ex-wife or ex-husband never remarried, then they're eligible for 50% of what you received. So if by chance their benefit was $1,000 a month, based on where they worked, how many years they worked, remember what is required in order for you to earn Social Security, all right? They can get up to $1,500 and get more money than they did prior to that. So that's just a tidbit of information. So what I've shared with you today, as it relates to Social Security, is only the tip of the iceberg. But I hope it did give you a little better understanding of what to do with Social Security. I've had a number of people ask me, should I take it? Shouldn't I take it? At age 55, I said, is no doubt I'm going to take my Social Security at 62. But once I really understood the benefit for me waiting, I said, now I'm going to wait. And it looks like I'll wait until age 65. So, I conclude by saying this. Remember the importance of understanding your money. And more times than not, all it requires is you getting on the phone or you hitting a search app and finding out as much as you can as it relates to your money and how to spend your money. One more thing. I'm going to say this every time we have Money Matters. Look for ways of getting out of debt. Debt is a form of slavery. And once you get out of debt, look for ways to improve that credit rating to at least 700. I have ways to do it if you're interested. Again, thank you for being a part of Money Matters today. Next week, I'm going to have a retirement expert here. He's going to give you more information on what to do and how to handle your retirement. Eventually, we'll talk about wills and things like that that will help seniors or seniors to be in how to handle their money moving forward. Have a good one. Remember this. God loves you, and so do we. Have a good afternoon.